I'm a very gentle man, even-tempered and good-natured, who you'll never hear complain, who has the milk of human kindness by the quart in every vein. A patient man am I, down to my fingertips, the sort who never could, ever would, let an insulting remark escape his lips. Hello and welcome to Lamarr's Attacks. I'm Mark Lamarr, and I'll be getting on my high horse in a minute, but before that, let's see what's been happening in the news this week. TV funny man Gary Wilmot spearheaded a national literacy campaign this week by announcing, I can write, but I can't read. Isn't that weird? Love rat James Hewitt admitted this week that in a strange twist of fate, he actually does love rats. It's official. Women have penises. Scientists in Thailand revealed that in a study of 100 women, 98 of them had penises. Angus Deaton revealed this week that his nickname at school was Button Mushroom Cock. He won't give any details as to what this actually means. Painter and decorator Roy O'Neill saw red yesterday when he came home to find his oldest friend, John Tennant, enjoying doggy-style sex with his wife. But he soon saw the funny side when it was revealed to be a harmless prank for his birthday. He's always getting me, he said. Last year it was me mum. Here's this week's before and after. Here's a picture of Anna Kournikova. Before, I drew all over her face. And here's one after. It's exactly what you want, isn't it? Big little glasses on the tennis player. And the leader of Austria's Freedom Party, Jörg Haider, denied again that he was an admirer of Adolf Hitler. I'm not a Nazi, he said. And if you don't believe me, you can ask my wife Eva. She's at home in the bunker. There was actually a national leader of the National Front in the 70s, when the National Front were really big, Martin Webster, who was gay, which is another thing they campaign against. They hate everybody, idiots. But this bloke ended up being the leader of an organisation that campaigned against himself. Right? And, of course, they found out and they chucked him out of the National Front. And he took him to an unfair dismissal tribunal. Honestly, and he got his job back. So it ended up, he's a gay man leading an organisation which is trying to get rid of himself. And I sort of think, well, they were sort of right to get rid of him, you know. And then I think, well, hold on, I'm confused now because I'm agreeing with a right-wing organisation that's trying to get rid of gay people. I don't know where I stand. What I need is a hard-hitting columnist from one of the papers to talk me through it and explain exactly who's right and who's wrong, because that's how moral problems are solved these days, not with hours of considered debate, but by journalists with a deadline. So often our morality is based on what other people tell us to care about. Fox hunting, for example. Very big issue. Fox hunting's cruel. No two ways about that. Yes, fox hunting's cruel. That's all we know about it. Life's cruel. Nature is the cruelest arena of life. People always have this image of all the animals sitting around at the end of the day, smoking pipes and singing zippity-doo-dah together in a field, and they're hugging each other and making daisy crowns for a chipmunk with a banjo. But nature's not like that. Nature isn't like that. Nature is a stunningly cruel environment, and the fox is the biggest bastard in nature. There's no way around that. No one denies the fox is a pest, even people who are trying to stop the hunts. If a fox gets into a chicken coop, it won't just kill one chicken. You know, like if we go and visit the colonel, we just order what we want and leave. Fox won't do that. A fox will kill every single chicken in that coop. It might kill hundreds of chickens in a night. So, of course, farmers are having a terrible time. Chickens are having a really terrible time. And the foxes will be gotten rid of. And the fox hunt, whether you like it or not, that's the only way of getting rid of it. You can't just shoot a fox. That ain't going to happen. You can't kill a fox like that. A fox has got a skull about that thick. You can't get a bullet through a fox's head. This is science, what I'm giving you here. You can't. If you had a 12-bore shotgun on the fox's head at point-blank range, a fox would sit there and giggle for half an hour. He'd probably be going like that for a while. He'd be on the mobile to his mates. Jeremy, come look at this idiot trying to kill me with a 12-bore shotgun. That ain't going to happen. That's never going to get rid of a fox. Everyone knows that. There's only one surefire way of killing a fox. And that's to get a couple of millionaires on horseback, a little bit drunk, maybe in fancy dress. They're accompanied by 50 or 60 starving fox-eating dogs. And, of course, the thing the fox fears most, the bugle. No one likes that noise, come on. And then you chase the fox over anyone's land you come across, and in that way, you're guaranteed of killing up to one fox a day. It's the best method. I know you're looking at me like, oh, Mark, poor little foxes. I don't care. I don't understand how the fox has rights, but the chickens don't. And anyway, I don't care about foxes or chickens, they're animals. I would eat the dolphin that saved my child. They're animals. I punched a panda in the face once. No one found out. They got big black eyes. Oh, but I really did punch a panda in the face. Because for a start, where am I going to meet a panda? And more importantly, what am I going to get into a row with it about? No one touches my bamboo, mister. What are you on about? It's a joke. People campaign about fox hunting, and that's up to them. But every single day, there were schoolboys blowing straws up frogs' arses and rubbing mustard on cats' testicles just to see the look on their face. No campaigns about that. As I said, I have nothing against animals, but humans' rights just seem a lot more important to me. Everyone's complaining in London, especially now, about the beggars at the moment, as if they want to live like that. People go, get the beggars off the streets. All right then, where to? Where should we put them? The sky? Is that going to be a better place for them? Because, you know, they haven't got anywhere to live. That's why they live on the street. It's the only option for them. How about we send them to the land that time forgot? Should we do that? Or maybe 20,000 leagues under the sea. Let's send them on a magical adventure through time. What's the bit? They're only asking you for some change. And, you know, if thousands of people walk through my house every day, I don't think £1's too much to ask. They're not forcing people. They're not guilt-tripping people. Beggars only ask for money. They don't take money. That's muggers. And, you know, I think people are getting them confused because they both end in guz. Give them a bit of change. You know, I mean, obviously, that's not a solution. You know what they say? Give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he'll eat forever. That ain't much of a solution either, is it, really? Because, for a start, I don't carry fish about me. You know, I usually carry like 20p's and 50s and pounds in there. I can't teach a man how to fish. I ain't got the time, for starting, or the know-how, or the equipment. Apart from anything else, tramps don't smell that good. We don't need a lot of fish around them. I tell you when you're on pretty safe moral ground is if you're doing anything for charity. You know, and far be it from me to criticise charitable work. But, you know, I'll have a go, obviously. Because so often today, people use charity as some sort of adventure playground. You can be in a pub and a load of fat blokes in nappies come in, pushing each other around in wheelbarrows and dribbling down themselves like babies and that, you know. It's all for charity, so it doesn't matter, you know. The only thing is they get so drunk they forget what a charity is. You know, it starts off Save the Whale, ends up Catch the Pigeon. They have no clue what they're even doing. I saw a bloke once on Comic Relief sitting in a bar full of baked beans. Now, this man obviously wanted to sit in a bar full of baked beans, and I'm just dumbfounded. I'm thinking, I'm watching you despoiling food for famine. That can't work out for anyone, innit? I'd really prefer they just did it for fun. You know, excuse me, why are you sitting in a bar full of baked beans? Well, it's for the kids. I'll tell you one thing, pal, you're not going anywhere near my kids, I can guarantee you that. Do it for the blind, stupid. Not the blind, stupid, I mean, do it for... You're the stupid one, and... You haven't actually done it, have you? You ever sat in a bar full of baked... Oh, I'm asking the wrong person, aren't I? I live in a bar full of baked beans. Bean Lady. You know Beanie Man, the Jamaican singer? You're going to be Beanie Lady from now on. I saw a bloke on TV once, I can't remember what he was doing, some stunt, and he said he was raising money for cancer refund. I honestly thought there was some kind of scheme like a meter rebate where you get money back if you don't catch it, you know. And it got me thinking, if it's all right to do anything, as long as it's for charity, I'm launching my own charity. You're all invited to give. It's called Blowjobs for Rhinos. And I can't guarantee that all your blowjobs will go to the rhinos, but it's worth the risk. What happens is, more blowjobs I get, I give some money to rhinos if I'm in the mood. I haven't really thought it through, but, you know, it has the ring of a charity. Adopt a limp, not a child. If you care about rhinos, I think you know what to do and to whom. And I must point out here legally that it's not registered, but I am. Tonight's first guest is a renowned broadcaster and journalist who's hosted Radio 4's Today programme for the last 14 years. It gives me great pleasure to welcome John Humphrys. John Humphrys. John, thank you very much for coming on. Obviously, the reason I wanted you on was because, you know, I'm a great fan of your columns and your journalistic work. And yeah. What I admire about your columns, which must make the job harder, is that you are actually very thoughtful and very even-handed, which seems very rare these days.
It's only because I'm not allowed to be the other way. It's because I'm a BBC man. So if I thought that Tony Blair was a duplicitous son of a goat herder's poor wife, or so, I couldn't say so. Not that I do, I have to say. This is the whole point.
I can't wait for you to watch the edit of this. Where do you think because you're a very moral man, I think, when I read your columns, and you're very Victorian in your morality. And I'm only saying this because I agree with you. I'm actually strangely Victorian in my morality, and I agree with a lot of what you say.
The problem with the Victorians was that they were entirely censorious. You could not be different in Victorian times. You couldn't be gay in Victorian times. You couldn't be an unmarried mother in Victorian times, and all that was wrong. Tolerance is good. Intolerance, broadly speaking, is bad, unless it's intolerance of those things of which we all disapprove, although that seems to be increasingly few things these days.
No, I think that sometimes people are intolerant about things that it doesn't seem to matter. Swearing's one. I obviously swear a lot.
You do swear a lot, don't you?
And that's not, I'm not proud of it. I always think of you as my father, but somehow the articulate gene missed a generation. That's how I think of it. I think we feel about things the same way, but I use the F word much more. But when people talk about swearing, I just think, well, it doesn't actually harm anyone. And I once heard a radio phone in. There was an old bloke ringing in. And he said, the story went, he said, I was outside a shop. He said, there's a young woman with a young child. And she said to him, come here, you little bastard. And then he had my favourite ever next line. He said, I looked at her, but it made no difference. You know, like he could change time or something. But then he went into this big tirade. He said, now, let me tell you this. My dad never once swore in front of us. He used to belt us. He broke my arm once, but he never once swore. And that's a true story. This bloke honestly thought that the moral low ground was this woman swearing, not his dad knocking 7 shades of shit out of him.
The argument against swearing is not that it necessarily damages any body, but it damages the language ultimately, doesn't it? If kids grow up without using any verbs at all, and it's like, you know, I'm like, you know, when they actually then ultimately have to write something that requires a bit of sentence construction, they can't do it. And if all you ever do is speak in truncated little phrases with swear words so that you can emphasize how strongly you feel about something, and if it's the F word you feel reasonably strongly, and if it's the C word you feel even more strongly, that's actually doing the language down. It's not doing you any service, is it?
But how sad is this? We have to say the F and the C word.
Well, you just did.
This is like a dirty version of Sesame Street. That's going on. So, I think that's just an odd thing.
But listen, if you heard me interviewing a politician tomorrow morning, I'm doing the Today programme, and I use the F word in my interview with the politician, what would your reaction be?
I'd be jumping up and down. I'm sure everyone would. I would think that is the finest piece of radio I've ever seen.
What if the politician said it back to you?
He'd have every right to, you dirty, foul-mouthed little costume.
But there are plenty of words that you wouldn't use on television. Why is that? Is that because
I'm not
telly
allowed.
won't allow you to?
Yeah, but I don't see it as something.
The audience doesn't seem to mind. I mean, the audience laughs.
Oh, they laugh. That's all they want. These fuckers. Where do you think your morality comes from? Do you really think that there are certain moralities that are just stock and standard and must be retained?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe one of the oldest lines, the oldest cliche in the book is do unto others as you would that they do unto you. I suppose that's not bad, is it? Doesn't work too badly.
It depends. If they're delivering you milk, you don't want to go and deliver them milk.
You don't want to go and deliver them. That's perfectly true.
That's just milkman. I'm sorry, I was being very reductive then.
I wouldn't like to wake up in the morning and have people saying to me, now tell me, Mr. Humphries, why are you... No, exactly, and then interrupting me every
You're the
third
last
sentence.
person that should be saying that. You haven't answered the question, Mr. Humphries. Actually, I should have got Kenneth Clark or someone to sponsor me to interrupt you or something tonight.
Now, here's a morality thing. You see, I was attacked, savagely attacked by a Tory politician after an interview with Ken Clarke in which he alleged I'd interrupted him 32 times in 6 minutes. It wasn't true, it was actually 34, I checked later. But this Tory politician accused me, he was in the cabinet, very senior figure, and he accused me as a result of this and one or two other things of poisoning the well of democratic debate. That was the expression he used, fairly strong stuff. I was devastated, right. But, please don't interrupt me.
All right.
His name was Jonathan Aitken.
Oh, right.
Shame what happened to him, isn't it? Eh?
Yeah, a lovely look, and 3 people knew who he was. Well, I was thinking about the difference between when I was growing up, and I don't know, obviously that has had some effect on how I look at things throughout my life. The coolest bloke in the world, and up to a point, I suppose, was some kind of role model, was Sid Vicious, a bloke who couldn't play the bay. But this is true, he was, you know, he was a teenage role model. I don't know who it was when you were a teenager. But he was,
probably, you know, Cliff Richard.
He was a hero. Oh, well, that's the difference between me and you.
That was a joke, that was a joke.
They wouldn't know. But you know, he was a heroin addict who murdered his girlfriend, but there was just such a massive shift at that point. as to what was considered acceptable.
That's just teenage rebellion.
But who really would have been your role model when you were a teenager?
Oh, Presley, I suppose.
But how big a change is that in only, since 1956, what's that, 44 years, that when Elvis came out, they weren't allowed to show him from the waist down on television because it was so suggestive.
And when he started doing it, yes, exactly.
And when Sid murdered his girlfriend and died from a heroin overdose that his mum had given him, everyone sort of went, crazy old Sid.
Yeah, but we've gone back again now, haven't we? We've gone back. I mean, if Sid was around today and murdered his girlfriend after OD on heroin or something, people would say that's outrageous. We've gone back again, haven't we?
People would still be buying the T-shirts, though. People would still buy the T-shirts.
They probably would, but they probably wouldn't wear them to church on a Sunday night. That might be the difference.
You didn't wear Elvis T-shirts
to church on a Sunday night. Now, there weren't T-shirts then. You didn't have T-shirts then, did you?
We had big woolen tunics from head to toe. Occasionally a friendly monk would carve Elvis in the front of it if you were lucky. John Humphrys, thank you very much. John Humphrys. Now, like John, I like to think I'm a moral person, but then again, who doesn't? Hitmen, they think they're moral people. You ask a hitman how he can kill for money, and he'll say it's God's will. If God didn't want me to kill people, he wouldn't have made me a nutter. So we all have a different moral cut-off point, but if you're a hitman or the Dalai Lama and you cross that moral line, you feel guilt. The brain's own little ingrowing toenail, the unlanceable boil of the mind. And I'm a very guilty man. I feel guilty about everything. I feel guilty about poverty, homelessness, that burnt-out Fiesta on the A217, which has nothing to do with me. I just mentioned it. And if you happen to see me driving a Ford Fiesta that was on fire that night, whatever night that was, it weren't me. Never even owned a Ford Fiesta. I had one, but I don't know what that is. That's just gone. So can we get off the subject? We all feel guilty about different things. For example, you might feel guilty about owing a mate some money, and avoiding him or something like that. You might feel guilty about having someone else take a urine test for you, you dirty little junkie. You might feel guilty because you're in a very stable relationship, maybe with him. But you're obviously sitting there looking longingly at me. You want me, don't you? Oh, I can tell. Oh, yeah, I've seen that before. Oh, believe me, if I had £1 for every time I've seen that. You might feel guilty now because you know she wants me. You feel guilty, don't you? Because you're sitting there not laughing at my stuff, even though you think it's funny, but you've got a grudge against me because your girlfriend likes me, because I'm a better specimen of man. And you thought, let's face it, you thought it was a nice show, but now she's not laughing, he's not laughing, so I'm the one that's suffering because she wants me. I hope she feels guilty. You might feel guilty that you invited yourself to the show, and she didn't want you to come. Of course she doesn't with this coming on. It's stupid. She wanted to bring one of her mates so we could have a good time, the three of us, you know what I mean? But you came along saying, oh, no. So now you feel guilty, you've ruined her night, you've ruined my night, everyone's staring at you, thinking, what's the problem with this bloke here? His girlfriend wants to have a quick threesome with Mark, it's his show. You're just sitting there like, no, she's like, oh, I'm not really interested, I've seen the signals before, and now I feel really guilty for bringing it up. Thanks a lot, love, I hope you feel guilty. Thank you very much. Honestly, could you stop interrupting? All the way through she was going, Ford Fiesta, Ford Fiesta. This isn't like a mental person's auction. How much will you give me for these toilet rolls? Ford Fiesta, Ford Fiesta. The scary thing is, in a minute, she's going to have another car. Honestly, I'll start on something else. Renault Clio, I know it's coming. I tell you how guilty I feel about things. About 10 years ago, this is a true story. Me and a mate were wandering past a radio station. There was a big crowd of people outside, and I said, oh, who's that? What's going on in there? They were all like, waiting for an autograph. And someone said, it's Tiffany. And for no reason, I don't really know anything about the woman, I went, you're shit, Tiffany, and just carried on walking. I honestly felt terribly guilty about that. I wish there was some simple little method, some little table of payment we could make when we feel bad, because guilt just goes on forever. You know, like when you're at school and you deliberately spill a drink on someone's homework, they can turn round, knee you in the leg, kill your puff, and the matter's forgotten. That's all there is to it. You might even go out later on looking for frog spawn. There's no guilt whatsoever. It's all over. So what we need in adult life is a similar system. For example, say like a friend's lent you a video and you've accidentally taped over it. You know, of course, there's some payback expected, so they should be allowed to pull your trunks down in the swimming baths, even Stevens. You know, something like that. Here's another one. This actually happened to me. I was sat in the audience for Trisha, and there was this bloke on. There's a bloke on with his wife, and she was going a bit bald. And he was saying that he'd lost his appetite for her as a woman because she was balding. And everyone was having a go at him, and I joined in, you know. I said, you should be ashamed of yourself, mate. You should love her for what she is. She's a woman with luxurious hair or a roll-on deodorant with arms and legs, whatever. You should just love her, you know what I mean? That's what I said. But really, I agreed with him. She looked stupid, you know. But and I felt a bit guilty. So after the show, I took him to a local arcade, and I let him beat me on the motorbike machine. You know this one? This has happened to many people. Your uncle's in a coma, and you're sat there bedside. Oh, it's a bit boring after a while. And you happen to have a face painting kit on you. Yeah, like you haven't done it, and you do him up as a leopard. You know that one? And then halfway through, he wakes up and he's a bit annoyed with you. And of course, you know, you feel guilty. So you offer him the option. He can either give you half your age in bumps or 10 minutes in a headlock, and that's fair enough. Everyone's happy. Has anyone ever done this, right? You've seen a lost cat poster, and it's got a phone number on it, and you write above the phone number, also for red hot cock action. Fairly common. Chances are no one's going to call, but if later on you see a long line of moustached men waiting outside a local pensioner's front door, yeah, and you can't see what they're holding, but it's obviously not a cat, you know, then you're going to feel guilty. How do you make it up to her? Simple as this. You nip round and give her a nice big tin of Libby's peaches. Oh, they like them. I feel a bit guilty because I shot a teenage burglar. The worst thing was, it wasn't in my house. It was, I feel really bad because he was visiting his nan. So if this happens to you, do what I did. Get down on your knees and scrub that heartbroken granny's doorstep. You know, really give it a good scrubbing so she can see her face in it. Don't push her face in it, she's been through enough. Time for another guest now. My second guest is an author, a journalist, and an Australian. Ladies and gentlemen, great pleasure, Germaine Greer. I was just talking about guilt. Are there things that you're guilty about in life?
I don't do guilt.
I know you don't, do you?
No.
It's why I ask, because I'm a very dogmatic person, and so are you. But I'm always guilty about everything I do. You don't seem guilty about anything you've ever done.
Well, you can do guilt if you want to, but it generally means that you're taking on far too much responsibility.
But you must have had many times in your life, in fact, in your case, almost all times in your life, when people have criticised you for being immoral, and that must be very hard to deal with.
No.
It's not?
No.
You just blithely go through life, just go, I'll do whatever I want then.
No, you don't understand. I'm extremely moral. I have the biggest super ego in the world.
You react very badly to criticism.
Do I?
Yes. Suzanne Moore, what was it you called Suzanne Moore, the journalist?
It wasn't criticism, Mark. The woman said I had a hysterectomy at 25. I said to her, who did it, a vet? What are you talking about? And she said, oh,
hold on, what's the link there? Because that's who gives hysterectomies to 25-year-old women.
She said that we old feminists didn't want to have children, and therefore it was quite likely that we'd have gone to the vet and got spayed.
Right,
I mean,
so it was the lie, not criticism.
It wasn't a lie, it was a piece of rampant stupidity, and the girl is smart. If she'd been stupid, she could have got away with it, but she's actually a very clever woman, so I smacked her about a bit. And made her famous.
And there's the moral of the story.
For which other people would have charged her a lot of money.
This is such a moral maze. I want to move on to something else. I'm just information overload there, and none of it seems to be making sense. Not only to me, they haven't got anything. This is the first time I've stumbled.
They know what I'm talking about. They know that no woman wants to be told
they're
she
just
had
nodding.
A hysterectomy at 25.
I would ask
Wouldn't you be annoyed?
I could say, how many of you have got 3 feet? They'd be going, I know what you're saying there.
You'd be delighted if they said you had 3 feet.
The first non-me knob joke. Only if it was her, because she wants me.
She's not the only one.
Oh, Germaine, you minx.
I didn't say anything. Why do you call it a Ford Fiesta? In my house, they called it a Ford Fistula. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they didn't just call it that. It breaks your back and you can't walk after you've driven it 5 miles.
This is like a nightclub act you've got here. Anyway, a couple of nuns in the bath. If you don't mind, I'm going to have a little break from you. Anyway, there are things we all do that's wrong. We all cross a moral line and we all, in some way, try and vindicate and justify why we've done that. Have you never done that? Have you never crossed a moral line, or you just keep changing the lines so it doesn't matter what you do?
The lines change anyway. I mean, supposing I have sex with somebody else's man, for example. The way I see it is that he's up for grabs. And generally, if you're the other woman, as I've been mostly in my life, he goes back to the little woman eventually, and you get dumped, which is fine, because those are the parameters, that's the game that you play. I don't feel any great guilt about that.
Oh, no, I don't think you should. I think, if anything, he's the guilty party in that scenario.
Well, you don't know what I'm like. I don't think he's that guilty. I can make it pretty hard.
Once I make my mind up, he's coming home with me.
I mean, the way I see it is that if she's that interested, she's going to know. And if she doesn't know, it's because she's not interested. Because if the man I'm with is making love to another woman, I'll know. I'll smell it on him. I'll figure it out.
This sounds like there's a particular instance you wanted to get off your chest today. Is this your way of apologising to some woman?
What makes you think it's only one?
To anyone watching, you smell it on them. Morality, where did your morality come from? Because I know you didn't really, I don't think you admire your parents from what I've read that you've said about them.
Well, my father invented himself. My father lied about his whole life and became a person that he wasn't. But you see, the thing is that my morality was different. My morality, for example, was about telling the truth. And when I was growing up, we were meant to be cock teasers. That's what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to get a guy to take you out. You knew that when you were on your way home, he would park in one of the seaside parks, and he would try to cop a feel and grope you and so on. And you were supposed to keep him interested, but you were supposed to draw the line. And I just thought this was rubbish, that this was worse than prostitution. At least the prostitute gives you what you pay for. And here are all these good middle-class girls making boys pay through the nose, and I just thought, this stinks. So I decided very early on, I made a rule, which I think I followed ever since, because I'm drearily consistent, that if I kissed a man,
What was that?
If I kissed a man on the mouth,
Right.
it meant I was prepared to go to bed.
Play back the tape.
But I mean,
No, that's a good rule. As far as I'm concerned, if a woman sits near me, that's the same rule.
So everybody else was having a great time. Everybody else was necking and petting and having all sorts of foreplay, lots of orgasms in the backseat of the Pontiac and blah, blah. And here was I, this prim person who said, I won't kiss you because if I kiss you, I have to go to bed with you. And I never really got it. I mean, there were 10 years of foreplay, and I was the only person not doing it. I was such an earnest little person, and I still am earnest in that way. I don't mess people about.
I asked John, what are the absolute moralities? Do you think there are any? Are there any for you?
None at all.
Really?
Absolutely none.
Right, you're scaring me now, Germaine, so I'm going to have to ask you to leave, but it has been exciting having you here in the first place. Germaine Greer, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a kiss a minute. So, what have we learned about morality? Well, probably not much. But we have learned that give a man £1 and he can buy a box of Pringles. But give a man £1 million and he can do what he wants. He's a millionaire! Hooray! Waiters! I've got lap dancers making me breakfast! Stick it up your ass! Living la vida loca! Good night.
And he's back on The Attack next Thursday at 9:30. Back to tonight, the new series of Operation Good Guy.